GPS jamming was used. Drivers report fake checkpoints.
Cargo crime costs businesses billions of dollars a year in losses, disrupting global supply chains and putting client relationships at risk. But 25 years ago, one group of industry leaders said enough is enough and have been reducing their risk ever since. So, who are they? What do they know? What's their secret? And how can they help you? Welcome to TAPA Talks. In each episode, our hosts Thorsten Neumann and Pauly share a unique insight into the workings of the world's leading supply chain resilience industry association and talk to supply chain and security specialists about current and emerging threats out on the front line as they tackle everything from violent organized crime groups to insider thefts by their own employees. TAPA, it's time to talk.
Welcome back to the second episode of TAPA Talks, the official podcast from TAPA EMEA. I'm Pauly, and as always, I'm delighted to be joined by Thorsten Neumann, President and CEO of TAPA EMEA. Hi, Thorsten, how are you?
Hey, Sam, I'm doing very well. I hope everything is also okay on your side. Thank you.
Everything is all very good. Now, I just wanted to, before we dive into the episode today, just quickly run through the kinds of things we're going to be talking about, because we're going to start talking about global events. And at the end of the first episode, for our eagle-eared listeners, and I know that we have lots of them, we did say we might be talking about fake carriers, but we're not going to be talking about that specifically today. Why did you feel it was important not to, Thorsten, and to discuss a few other things first?
Yeah, one of the main reasons, and I know that we said that in the last episode, but one of the main reasons is that we have so many things to share, especially, towards our main conference on the 10th and 11th of June in sunny Oberhausen. And we thought, let's first focus on really what's going on in the world and what will we cover in Oberhausen. And last but not least, especially linked to freight exchange platforms, we have amazing news to share with all people at the conference in Oberhausen.
So before we dive in, Thorsten, let's introduce our two amazing guests who are joining us today. Thank you so much for being with us, Antonio Nazevich from DHL and Vice Chair of TAPA EMEA, and Marcel Sarlos from HP and Chair of TAPA EMEA. Antonio, Marcel, thank you so much for being with us.
It's very happy to be here, Sam. Always a pleasure.
Likewise from my side, Sam and Thorsten, we're really glad to be here with you.
So let's start by talking a little bit about global events, and then we'll talk about the annual conference and a few other things that we've got up our sleeve. We wanted to really have a look at kind of views on modern day supply chain security risk challenges, and how security professionals must manage an ever-growing list of quickly developing and changing threats and supply chain disruptions that are going to be impacting resilience. And especially when you've got external and internal customers who are knocking down the door, needing urgent help and solutions. Thorsten, maybe you could just quickly set the scene, looking back at some of the lessons maybe from coronavirus, the challenges of tariffs, war in Europe, and now the conflict in the Middle East.
Yeah, I think the biggest point right now, why we would like to look at global events, as we all know, TAPA is organized in 3 different regions, but of course every region is impacted by global or regional events, and over the last couple of years, especially the global events, really have an impact on all 3 regions, and that's really one of the things why I'm super happy that we have Marcel and Antonio here today, representing really 2 major players, of course dealing also in all 3 regions and globally. And I think what is also quite important here related to this one, unfortunately, the world is not getting into a better position. So let's be ready for that.
So, Antonio, maybe I could ask you, first of all, how do companies secure supply chains at times like this when we're talking about so much uncertainty?
Thank you, Sam. Very good question, actually. Yeah, I think it starts all with top-down commitment, right? So starting from the leadership team in the organization, recognizing the security function as a business enabler really allow you to streamline the approach globally. So non-silos thinking within the region specifically, but really having a joint approach in tackling the adversaries which can pose us, right? So this is really important.
And Marcel, with logistics and security professionals, they are connecting within their, Antonio, sorry, let me stick with you for a minute. How do logistics and security professionals connect within their own organizations to really manage these sudden shifts?
Yeah, that's also, I think, a very good question, Sam, because the security function, I think when I started back 16 years ago in this industry, was more seen as an isolated function, controlling body, called in only in the eventuality when something goes wrong. But now, with, of course, unfortunately, in a way, we are living in unprecedented time, right? And that, like it or not, these topics in which we're living nowadays, this disruptive event, the geopolitical instability, requires security engagement. So by having regular, so to say, conversation with key stakeholders, being having that discussion on that level allows security to be on the front end and drive the programs internally, right? Of course, with a great support of also of our industry standards, like obviously TAPA is for us, right?
Marcel, let me bring you in a little bit here. When we're talking about uncertainty, from a security perspective, how hard is it when you've got a situation, you think you found a solution, but then you need to suddenly pivot again in another direction?
Yeah, well, if you look at the current things ongoing in the world, then that really shows the need of resiliency. And by the way, that's exactly what TAPA already acknowledged in an early time. You mentioned COVID, and that was, I think, a pivot point in itself. And I would say stick to your principles. Don't start cutting corners. Although it's sometimes hard for customers to understand why their delivery is delayed because of extra measures, but they also need to realize that, and I think they do, that their delivery potentially will be lost if you downplay on your security. So, yeah, stick to your principles.
Do you think there are any other lessons learned that we can be looking at maybe from the pandemic that can be helping security professionals deal with the risks we see in the world today? As you just said, stick to your principles there, Marcel. Antonio, Thorsten, do you want to add any others? Have you all got one for me?
I can start. I think the resiliency, as I said, it suddenly became like a buzzword, and without a lot of people knowing the meaning of it, it was, and even I was hesitant at first, as I was used to focus on prevention, mitigation, but now a complete new chapter came along, and people in my company are asking, "Hey, we've got this situation in the Middle East. What are we doing about it?" So you need to be quick on your feet and respond and get educated on that. And I don't want to bang the drums too much, but TAPA is rightfully doing so.
Antonio, other lessons learned? I know you've had to be quick on your feet very much in the Middle East this year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's also really, resilience comes really close with agility, right? So you need to be able to take quick decision to safeguard your people at first, and then make sure also obviously that the business can go on, right? Because at the end of the day, the show always must go on in one way or the other, right? But I think, yeah, that resiliency element really it's a multi, how to say, department factor, so to say, from an ownership perspective. It's not just security or risk and insurance, but it really comes in different forms nowadays, right? Starting from product up to down to security, risk and insurance, and all together needs to really bundle and prioritize the activities in order to basically, in agile way, carry on, basically.
Thorsten, how would you reflect on what we're hearing today from Antonio and Marcel, and add to that maybe? What's your response?
Yeah, I think both of them are really, hitting the nail on the head here. From my point of view, it's going to the direction what TAPA is doing now for the last 25 years. Keep it simple, because at the end of the day, it's very simple to make it complicated, but it's very complicated to make it simple. So from that point of view, what TAPA is doing really, we create industry-wide standards which are accepted by the entire industry globally. That's number one, how you keep it simple. Don't reinvent the wheel. And second, what is also quite important, train your people, create awareness. And at the end of the day, what we all want to ensure is, really a mindset change, that people do understand what Marcel said and Antonio said. guys, let's work together. Let's connect the dots. And that's really something what people need to understand.
So we've been talking about what you're doing, what your members are doing. What about from the other side, though? Presumably all this uncertainty has an impact on crime and increases and drives up supply chain crime because the black market is boosted, people want lower prices. Is there an impact on that side as well? Marcel?
Yeah, that's clearly a double-edged sword. Products are getting more expensive due to raw materials, storage, transportation costs, labor costs, etc. With that, unwillingly, we are giving an opportunity to criminals to raise their prices as well, as long as they are below the retail. And the consumer is maybe more tempted to move to black or the illicit market. I mean, look at the fuel prices at this moment in time, and you see in parallel you see an uptake on, let's say, fuel thefts, and not only from vehicles anymore, but even from yards or even from depots. So it goes in parallel, and we make it easier for the criminals. And so because they don't invest, they don't have to spend money, maybe on fuel, but to get there. But in the end, they make more money out of it. So more attractive and more risk.
Do you know where your supply chains face the greatest risks of a criminal attack? TAPA EMEA's digital intelligence system is updated daily and contains over 275,000 incidents in over 100 countries. Don't stay in the dark. Intelligence equals resilience. It's time to become TAPArized.
I just wonder, whilst we're sitting here talking about this, though, if there are any silver linings, any kind of positives that can come out of this. Does this create a situation where it's easier to get buy-in and support from C-suite in terms of the importance of supply chain resiliency? Or are there any other sort of tangible benefits that come out of these sorts of experiences that we go through? Antonio, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Yeah, I think I alluded to that before, but I really can see that shift, right? Security functions more and more strategically positioned, if not in the board of an organization, but very close with direct access, with more really becoming internal consultant for the business decision maker. And this is obviously very important, giving us a huge opportunity to address the rising trends and risk, but at the same time gives a tremendous, obviously, expectation on our sides, right? And which is obviously perfectly fine, right? So yeah, there is absolutely more and more interest from C-suite basically level into security and resilience. Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, one of the ways that you guys are all working together is through collaboration, in terms of improving the things we've been talking about. And I know that collaboration and networking are really important elements of the annual conference, which is coming up very soon. And I think we are all super excited about. Thorsten, do you want to give us a quick update where we're up to sort of so far with that? And then we'll maybe just focus on some of the sessions. I don't know if Antonio and Marcel, you want to highlight a session each that you're particularly looking forward to, or some of the guests maybe that you can tell us about, Thorsten, and where we're up to, and then we'll come to a deep dive into a panel each.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, I'm really happy and proud to say that we already have more than 650 registrations for the conference on the 10th and 11th of June. It's still time to register, but hurry up, because you must do it as soon as possible. And remember, we offer the places on a first come, first serve basis. And Oberhausen will be, again, our biggest annual conference ever in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. As a kind of a special thing also, I would like to announce that we give 100 free delegate places to non-members, to guests from a member. So when a member, a TAPA EMEA member, really believes that this company must become a TAPA member, please invite them free of charge. They are a one-time guest and they should register as a normal member, as a normal TAPA member, but put behind the company name in brackets who invited them. And then we step in contact with this company and we follow up with the rest. So keep it very simple again, So if you see a potential new member, let him register. We take care of the rest. And other than that, as you know, I'm looking forward to it. So it will be a fantastic thing, and the networking and the rest will be outstanding.
We've got speakers and panelists coming from Volkswagen, Europol, Opel, the Young Security Professionals Academy, DHL Express, and loads of others. I'm not going to list all of them here because I want to hear your responses to that. But Antonio, is there a topic that's being addressed at the conference that you're particularly excited about that you feel is really relevant as well?
Thank you, Sam. Yeah, I think I'm pretty excited also what the controlling body of the Frankfurt Airport, Fraport, will bring on the table, because I really like action. I really like concrete things. Case study. It's our best opportunity to raise the awareness, explain the members we see the challenges, or where did we start from a challenging situation and how we tackle this and basically address the risk. And so I think that's a session which I'm actually really looking forward. But also, yeah, generally speaking, if you allow me, Sam, I think really it's a great opportunity, because it is really public meeting the private sector when it comes to also our area of scope within security. So it's a really great opportunity to connect the dot, connect with we will have a big number of representatives coming from the law enforcement, and this is obviously again shifting really the attention to the property crime point, because this is not anymore a niche, right? It's one of the primary way for organized crime to generate revenue. So it's really amazing to see how this community is also growing and supporting us. So I think it's a very good reason only that to join us in Oberhausen and really get to know each other, network, get in contact with key driving people in this industry, right?
Thorsten, maybe because we were going to talk about the law enforcement as well. Maybe I just come to you quickly, Thorsten, before we go back to you, Marcel. Sorry to jump around, guys, but let me just jump ahead to the law enforcement, because as Antonio mentioned it, this is a great example of the progress TAPA EMEA is making to increase its collaboration with law enforcement agencies. So can you just tell us a little bit more about what's happening at the conference on that? And then Marcel, I'm going to come to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you know, TAPA and Europol are working very close together already for years. And last year we also kicked off a special workshop between Europol and TAPA, where only Europol and TAPA members were really invited, and it was by invitation only. And we really discussed all the topics, what are the biggest challenges within the industry, what are the biggest fights, but also the law enforcement agencies shared with us what they really need, so, and what is important for them. And what is really important now for Oberhausen is that one of the biggest topics what we will discuss is fake carrier fraud. But it's not only that, it will be also counterfeit. I'm really super happy and proud to say that Europol will be there, but we also have nearly 20 EU member states law enforcement agencies will also be there. And we have a closed session, and you will be invited, when you will be part of it. And we have 50 leading police officers from all the different countries coming to Oberhausen to really discuss what's going on in our industry.
Marcel, let me come back to you to pick one of your highlights that you're particularly looking forward to on the agenda.
Only one. Well, that will be difficult.
No, you can go with more. It's right. I'm not strict.
Yeah, like Antonio, I'm looking forward to the Fraport speech, because that was exactly an example of how our partnership can be with our members. There was an issue. We asked TAPA, addressed it on behalf of our members, and Fraport picked it up in a great way. So really looking forward into the case study. The other thing, Europol, that's already been discussed. The Young Security Professionals Academy, I think there's far too, and this is an old man speaking, far too many old men in security at the moment. And what I think is very good in that perspective from young security professionals is that they live in this era. They embrace the technology, have the means of using social media, etc., and having fresh ideas. And so I'm always happy to look and learn from that. And then as last thing, I thought we would never have that, but we do now in this conference, is that the freight change industry is now a speaker as well. And I'm really looking forward to their input.
I'm going to come back to you on the young security professionals, Marcel, in just a moment, because I want to ask a little bit more about that from the TAPA EMEA perspective. But just before I do, Marcel, I know that the chairs of TAPA Americas and TAPA APAC are going to be there as well, so that's exciting.
Yep, that's very exciting, because that's been far too long since we had all regional representatives on the boards in Americas and Asia Pacific. In EMEA, and I'm really looking forward to it, and as well in any panel that we're going to set up, and I'm really wondering what kind of questions we will get in the panel from the audience. Really looking forward to it, and happy to get those people on board in our conference.
And I'm going to take this opportunity to remind everybody listening that, as Marcel mentioned, questions from the audience, we love them at the conference, don't we, Thorsten?
We absolutely love all the questions. And it's also a reminder, that you need to use the TAPA EMEA app to raise the questions. And what we implemented already last year will be there on a more modern way. So you will see not only Sam on stage again, you will also see the Tapatron, collecting all the questions and raising them to the panelists or the speakers.
And I know you've got lots of surprises for the conference, as always, I'm sure. Let's just talk a little bit more about the young security professionals, because, as SME organizations are growing and continuing to work, do they need more support on the ways to mentor and develop young talent? And is this something that TAPA EMEA hopes to play more of a role in going forward, Thorsten and Marcel?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, as you know, we have our award also related to the young supply chain security professional. And of course, we will also announce the winner of this year's young supply chain security professional. But I think, as we already said, connecting the dots and do not reinvent the wheel. So I'm already in contact with the Young Security Professionals Academy for quite a long time. And I thought it's a great, really opportunity to connect both together, and say, okay, how can we work together to really bridging the gap between emerging talent and security leadership? What can we do to support them? What can they do to support us? Because we all been young, and you can do whatever you want, you will get older, and then you will realize, oh, we need the young generation. We need them. It's super important, super important.
Marcel, did you want to add something to that?
That nail on the head again, Thorsten. And the one thing that TAPA can offer, and that we are always known for, is the network. And once you're off the academy going into the corporate or private network, then or companies, then you will see that you need to have some sort of a backup with knowledge, experience, and that's exactly what TAPA can give you. I've always been advocating it that we don't have any competition within TAPA. If we have an issue, I just call on to the next, and that can even be a competitor. And, hey, I've got this problem. You probably had it the same, and that's how we deal with it. And that especially goes for the young security professionals, because they need a lot of support, because all eyes, especially in these times, all eyes are on them from the company.
Did you know TAPA EMEA is the fastest growing supply chain security network in the EMEA region? We connect manufacturers, logistics operators, insurers, security systems providers, parking places, and law enforcement agencies, all with a single goal: to reduce the risk of cargo crime. Our network is totally TAPAized. You can be too. Contact us now at info@tapaemea.org and ask what we can do for your business.
Thank you so much, Marcel. Well, listen, it's been in the news a lot, the KitKat heist. As I'm sure many of our listeners have seen, Nestle announced a truckload of its KitKat chocolate bars was stolen whilst en route from Poland in March. And I think that thieves stole 12 tons of over 413,000 units. And I promise that was nothing to do with my family. So Nestle announced the crime in the media to warn other companies of the risk of such attacks. And I'm really keen to hear your take on that, because Thorsten, I know you're always encouraging people to share information and data, but you always keep the name of the company anonymous. So kind of what's your view and all of you on the fact that Nestle has done that?
So first of all, a big congratulations to the PR team from Nestle. This was really a fantastic thing what they did, because they really turned a loss into a big media thing. Nevertheless, I'm pretty sure that they also, on the other side, really still suffering and say, oh man, another 430,000 units which are not going to the market under our responsibility. But it's clearly, an indication and a signal what thieves are looking for, because they look for everything. And that's really super important. And as you also said it, report a crime is the most important thing, because transparency and visibility makes the difference. And within TIS, we always neutralize all data, as you know. And it's super easy to report data, so send a simple email to tisteam@tapaemea.org, or use our online reporting tool, which is on the website. So yeah, I think, again, and by the way, Nestle is not a member so far. So I would say become a member, and this won't happen again.
Invite them to the 1 of the 100.
Antonio, what are your thoughts on them sharing the information? Do you think that's going to encourage other companies to be more open?
Yeah, I think it's very simple. Sharing is caring, meaning if you know that or if you know that an issue occurred in the specific area, that can help you to protect your inventory and consequently someone else, right? So if we don't share, if we manage those issues in a silos, then eventually we will be more and more affected at the end of the day, right? So I think this is really sharing is caring in this regards. And if you allow me a note on the KitKat case, obviously we shouldn't wonder, right? I mean, when you compare that the cacao price was 2.8 thousand USD per ton 10 years ago, and now it's around 10,000, 12,000. It's pure, at the end of the day, easy money, pure money, with not traceable, very likely. So absolutely, yeah, we shouldn't be surprised. I mean, we will probably see more and more theft in the non-traditional commodities, which we historically know, the tech, the retailer, the pharma, and so on. But rather going into the direction something which it might appear cheap, but on a big scale has a huge demand and will generate profit and less risk for this criminal, right?
No, I really wonder in the KitKat theft if that was targeted or not, because if you steal tons of chocolate, then you must have some sort of either can directly sell it or have in a cooling warehouse or whatever, a cold environment. So that was wondering, but what it clearly shows to me, and like Thorsten said, great job. It brought them more exposure than any TV commercial could have done, and they did a great job in let's say turning the negative around. So, but I think it clearly shows that criminals are not longer targeting a type of commodity. Of course, electronics can be expensive, etc., but it changes also with time. I already mentioned fuel. Look at COVID. Suddenly, toilet paper became a hot commodity to steal. So we need to ride the waves with that to see, okay, what is hot and what is not. And in this case, yeah, again, it was great how they turned it around.
And also in terms of more public awareness as well, like it's, I mean, it's encouraging other companies perhaps to share, as you were speaking about, Antonio, but it's been featured in Forbes and Time magazine, and so like that's improving public awareness. I'm sure many members of the public, it's not something they think about on a daily basis.
Yep.
I think that this will also help people who in companies are, I wouldn't say oblivious, but are not having security on their top list. Oh, wow, even this can be stolen. I need to look at my my supply chain, how that is working, because they may have a commodity that they think is not important or not high demand. So yeah, that this is in favor for all of us. So thanks, KitKat.
No, absolutely. I think Marcel, it's absolutely right. And I realize that discussing also with some maybe senior decision maker within the logistics industry, not security, right? So when we talk security to security, we really know what we're talking about, and we're not surprised about it. When you talk to some basically, logistics leaders, and when maybe use TAPA TALKS tool and you show them the very nice heat map around Germany, the Netherlands, and Belgium, and they will say, okay, wait a minute, are you telling me that my trucks transiting every day through these countries are actually really exposed to this kind of events? You say, yeah, pretty much that's the case. They really got still surprised to hear that in the top 5 country of in EMEA, you have at least 3 European countries which poses the biggest risk from cargo crime perspective. So yeah, I think on one end, this was I would say a good awareness, this KitKat case, but we should not wonder, right? Because it's really that the direction where we are heading to.
And before we finish up, Thorsten, can you just remind everybody how they can report their incidents to TIS and to TAPA EMEA?
Absolutely. As already mentioned, I think first of all, you can send us an email, tisteam@tapaemea.org. We have a special platform on our website where you can also report every crime and every incident. And, at the end of the day, of course, we also have APIs. We have tons of opportunities. So please contact us, and then we will let you know the easiest way for you as a company.
And you mentioned your website, and of course, that's also the place that people can register for the annual conference, where, by the way, we didn't talk about the exhibition. So maybe just remind us how to register and tell us a little blast about the exhibition, because I think it's the biggest ever.
So before I will do that, you do not ask me the question, what session I'm looking forward to, so just let you know, I'm looking forward to all sessions. And I will let you know why, because our agenda is amazing. We have really leaders from all the different industries. We have really so great topics, and I'm really looking forward to it. But what is also quite important, what I would like to highlight really is that we will do more announcements at this conference than we ever did before. More membership benefits, more features, more tools. And this is really something what is amazing. And it's not only that, we have the biggest exhibition we ever had. We have more than 35 leading supply chain security providers showing their latest products, their latest features, their latest solutions. You will see an exhibition inside the venue, but also outside the venue, because we have at least 4 trucks there, which will show, how you can protect your trucks. We will have an armored vehicle. We have, I'm saying nothing anymore, because otherwise you won't register. You're absolutely right. And registration, hurry up again. It's very important. Go to the website, go to LinkedIn, go to the Vigilant, and you will see our conference website where you can register within less than 2 minutes. So looking forward to it.
It's going to be fantastic. Well, I think we've discussed so much. I know we're going to keep talking about all these topics and more when we all meet in person at that conference. But for now, thank you so much, Thorsten, for your, as always, great insights, and also bringing fantastic insights today, our excellent guests, Antonio and Marcel. Thank you all for being with us.
Thank you. Yeah,
thanks for having us.
And thank you, of course, to you, our listeners. And don't forget, as Thorsten was saying, there is still time to register for the annual conference in Oberhausen in June, sunny Oberhausen, and we very much hope that we will see you there in person. Do join us again soon for our next episode of TAPA Talks, when we will be delving into the murky world of fake carriers with insights from more industry experts. Until next time, bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to TAPA Talks. Quick heads up, the next episode is one you'll want to hear the moment it drops. Follow or subscribe now so you are up to date and not catching up later. Till then, stay taparized.